Hello, you beautiful, amazing, smart, talented, wicked people listening. It's your host, Keltie, virtually beside Savvy One. How's it going? Wavy.
Wavy. It's going fantastic. I'm doing wonderful on this beautiful Monday night. Are you a Monday person?
Depends on the week. Some Mondays I'm refreshed, I'm ready, I got an exciting video, I got things coming. And others I'm like, I need one more day. So
That's fair.
this week, I'm excited. I've got all fun things, but I didn't have a fully relaxing weekend and I got a crazy week. So it's a little bit like, I could have used one more day, but I'm good. I'm looking forward to the week.
I was going to say it all stems on how your Sunday went, right?
A bit of a busy Sunday. Bit off more than I could chew. How was yours? Relaxing?
Well, now I want to know what you did. I just did a little nice day trip in Spain with Michael. Had a good time. Ate out, ate good food. What did you do?
Just like I had to get a bunch of errands done. I had appointments, met with a friend for nails. And then also I leave for 30 hours on Wednesday night till Friday morning. So semi-packed, but also getting ready for the week because I fully got to work for the week. So it was like this weird pack for a trip, a pack for a whole week, clean the apartments, get errands done, 10 appointments. You know what I mean? It's just one of those when you're all around town. So you're like, I need to pack. So just one of those chaotic days.
Yeah.
But we got it done. And I'm here.
You got it done.
And I'm living. And that's all you can ask.
That's all you can ask for. Well, should we get into our hot takes? Do you want to go first this time?
We should. I almost forgot what my hot take was for a second, but I remember it. My hot take is, I don't even know how to explain this, but I'm such a lover of high socks. Do you ever see me not in a good ankle covered sock? It's what I've known for so many years from basketball. Now, I did a review on the Nike Alpha Flies, those really hella expensive Nike shoes, because I honestly just wanted to make a YouTube video out of it. I was like, what makes these so special? I was like, is this worth it? And then I was like, I've wanted to buy them for a year, but I'm like, how can a shoe make that much of a difference? So I was like, I'm going to buy these and test these out. If it's they're just only marathon Olympic runners should use them, or are they kind of beneficial for us average girls who are just trying to physically finish a half marathon? And I got them and they just eat away at your ankles. Now, people got mad at me in the comments and they're like, well, you should have worn full ankle socks. I was like, no, because hear me out. I shouldn't have to buy a crazy pair of expensive shoes and then also be expected to buy a really nice high performance sock. You know what I mean? I was like, I purposely didn't wear my high socks that I always wear because I was like, how do these react just normally? Because you're spending that much. You shouldn't have to put parameters. I shouldn't buy a fancy car and then have to go buy a seatbelt. It's why didn't you have your seatbelt on? It's because there's no seatbelt in the car. You know what I mean? Maybe it's being salty, but I purposely didn't wear socks for that very reason to test it. And then some people were like, where's the socks? I'm like, I don't know. I think if you're buying something that nice, you shouldn't be expected to buy something else with it. So that's my hot take. If you're buying nice running shoes, you should be able to wear low socks with them if you wanted to. I don't want
agree.
To, but I should have the option.
That you should never. Because of blisters. I got my On Clouds. I raved about them. Okay, guys? It's not even been a month. And on the back of my On Clouds, they're what is it called when there's holes in them where your ankles go?
What model did you get of them?
Cloud Swift 5.
I've never worn those ones.
So but Michael also has On Clouds and he has the same issue. To be fair, I have been wearing this every single day for a month and putting miles in it. But they're expensive and they're known to be these amazing shoes. I just would have thought they would last me longer because it's starting to where the plastic's popping out now and it's going to give me blisters.
I hate to say it, but I've got a pair on right now and these have lasted over a year, multiple miles. So
do you have how do you put them on?
Okay, I'm going to put them on right now. My
I
toe
slip
goes
mine
in.
on.
My toe goes in. Then I grab the thing at the back, the little thingamabobber, and I pull it as I'm doing this right now for those listening. And because I was curious the model because I've never worn the model you have, and I've worn lots of On Clouds, and eventually after a year, they hit the dust. But I've never had a pair run out that fast.
Yeah.
So
I don't know
I don't know if it's the model.
what's wrong with me, but it's weird. Michael is like having the same issue. And I mean, I'm going to keep wearing it. I'm just bummed out. I'm going to have to get new shoes after a month. But I have been wearing them constantly and I'm walking so far. But it's like, that's the point of them.
Well,
that
that's
I don't
why I'm
understand.
shocked. I'm shocked because like I'm the same way. Like I don't have a car. I have these guys, they take on like 15K a day minimum, plus running and walking. And a pair lasts me at least a year. So and in Vancouver, rain, snow. So I'm curious. Like, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. It shouldn't be like that.
I was going to see if I could buy like patches for it. Because I'm like, I don't want to buy any.
Look at the warranty. They might have warranty.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna look at the warranty. I'll keep you guys updated.
Especially because they're like such a like premium brand that I feel they would have warranty for something like that.
Yeah, I was so bummed out. I was like, I mean, I'm not gonna buy them again if this is what happens. I'm gonna. There's so many other shoes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm like, but I was a big believer in them, and I think they're really comfy. I mean, I walk miles every day, and I never complain. Yeah. What's your other hot topic? Hot take. I'm like, wow, we're struggling on these. Hit take.
I just found this super interesting. So last week I went on the street and I was one of those people like interviewing people on the street of Vancouver and just asking them if they came up. I'd ask them 5 questions and like, what do you eat? How do you work out? Da, 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 da. And it was super fascinating how many people's response was like, I try not to eat too much meat, or I'm trying to not eat as much chicken or not as much meat, or I'm vegetarian, or I'm trying to, it was like a lot of like, not that they were necessarily vegan or vegetarian, but like that was what they were hard on themselves. They're like, oh, I try and eat healthy. I tried. It was kind of like, I was like, that's an interesting, that it's kind of like people felt it very taboo to think they ate meat. And obviously like there's a lot of benefits to having plant-based diet, vegan, vegetarian. We're not going to, we've had those episodes before of vegan versus carnivore, that whole stuff. But it was just like fascinating to hear like the general population, not even the fitness world, of being like, ooh, meats I'm trying to stay away from, as like the general them trying to be healthier. So I just found that kind of interesting. Especially
very interesting.
And I think it makes sense in Vancouver because Vancouver doesn't really have a health food scene in the sense of like, there's healthy bowls and stuff, but like it's a really high vegan vegetarian scene versus like a health food scene that you would see in like, sweet greens and stuff like that. That's not as common. So it's kind of like, interesting.
Huh. I'd be interested to hear, like, even go deeper into like, do you guys, what do you take for your vitamins, or what do you eat for protein? Like, I'm always so curious because I know there's some vitamins associated with certain meats, and then also like in general, getting protein, that's a lot of people's like main consumption is meat.
Well, the funny thing was, okay, that was like about 70% people. The other 30%'s first thing was like, I really try and get in enough protein. So it was just really funny. It was like, that was the two. It was either I'm staying away from meat or I focus on protein. And that was kind of the two. I was like, interesting.
Yeah, I would love to know more.
It's kind of funny. Yeah. What about yours?
Mine's a little deep, but mine is, I did my 6-week challenge, right? And so I post, like, I'm proud of it. So I've been posting my like befores and afters on Instagram. And the comments are absolute savagery. And I don't really read them often, but like it'll pop up, on your like feed or whatever. That's the only time I'll see it, right?
Yeah.
And I've like occasionally clapped back at some people, and that's not like me at all. But like every now and then I'm like, I literally didn't even say that. Go away. Like, yeah. Or like, what's the entire point of this? But the one reoccurring thing that I've just like read online and things like that, stop telling me I can't be into fitness if I don't look that like classic ripped girl that fitness people do. And just because like, one, anyone can share their hobby, anyone can like fitness, and 2, success doesn't always mean abs. You could be unhealthy and you could have ripped abs, right?
Yeah.
So stop judging women online by their bodies. And it just was like it's a little irk. It's a little take of like, think before you speak, first off. But it's just so funky because that was something I would read. And I mean, if you look at my transformation, it looks great. Like, and I think I looked great prior. But it just was so interesting because just because I didn't have this like 6-pack abs or whatever it may be doesn't mean there wasn't like success with like my mental health with it, or like the progress I made with lifting and having a schedule for myself. I just thought it was
Definitely.
interesting that people can be just so judgmental online, and it's getting so unhinged that I'm like, y'all need to stop. Y'all need to
Me
just
too.
take a second, reevaluate your life. Would you say that to your cousin? Would you say it to your friend? No.
First
And
of all,
I
you
even
looked
have had,
amazing.
oh, thank you.
Mhm.
It was just my little
Yeah.
soapbox.
Yes.
But I've even had some people comment really rude things. And if I just respond back to them, they'll like immediately like DM me being like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you
Classic.
saw that. And I'm like, I'm a human. Like people
Yeah.
are human. Just like, don't be mean to freaking Hailey Bieber because she's a human.
Yeah, people read the comments. And like the irony to this all is like what you want people. This is like you can never make the internet healthy. So what you're doing, you're like, I don't want us to call you an average girl because you're above average. You're amazing. But I mean, like you've always done such a good job of showing yourself like a realistic wellness fitness routine, like something everyone can do. You're really passionate about it, but like you're not like my whole life is consumed. Versus on the flip side, you're like, that's like something someone can look at and be like, I can actually one day fit fitness into my like Sab. Versus say someone who's an extreme, who's doing 6 hours a day and cutting all this, and yeah, they're shredded. And then those people, they're gonna be like, that's unrealistic. No one can do it. You know what I mean? Versus you show something realistic, and it's like, oh, you're not fit enough. And it's like, what do you want? Like I always get those like similar kind of comments. Like I know I always get the like, oh, she's not even jacked. And I was like, because I'm 5'7", and the girls who have the big booties are 5'2". So I'll like, yeah, I'll never have a butt. Like doesn't mean for all I know, I could be stronger. Like, and it's not a comparison game, but like body types are different. Like what is fitness? Like what's your VO2 max? What's your resting heart rate? Like, do you know what I mean? But people just equate on the internet like six pack she can talk about. But heaven forbid she actually gets a six pack and then it's unrealistic. And it's like, you can never make it happy. And you're just, everything you do is such like a breath of fresh air online. So don't get
Oh,
down.
thank you.
Everyone, you know, because
I
that's
mean,
what
I'm not
it's
down. I think it was like, I
yeah.
had this like dark moment. I
Mhm.
like, do you ever have this as a
Mhm.
content creator? I feel like you don't because you're always like, no, don't. Why does this upset you? And I'm like, I don't know. But every now and then I'm like, I have this urge and I don't know how to describe it, but it's this urge that I need to like Google myself. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't Google it because there's crazy forums. And every now and then I'll get like, I'll be looking something else up, like an article, whatever it may be that like Michael's company published, whatever.
Yeah.
And with my name. And that's how I get onto it.
Mhm.
And I didn't click on it, but all I said was, it was this one thing that was like, oh, she used to be fit and she's not as fit anymore and things like that had to do with me in my past when I was
Yeah.
23 and 24 or
Exactly.
well 24 and now I'm 28. I'm married. I have shit to do. I like,
Fully.
you know, that, and like my body changes as well. I still have very similar body, but like
Yeah.
I don't have the time to be as ripped, or I was extremely thin back then and it was not healthy for me.
Yeah.
And I just don't really talk a lot about it. And so that's why I just thought it was so interesting that it's weird because I was talking to my mom about it. I'm like, you can literally look up my body 4 years ago and then now compare. And that's really what they were.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's my body. It's fine. You can do it. Like, you know, I have tough skin enough in this game, but it's just weird when it's like, don't tell me I don't understand working out though, because I do, and I'm a trainer. It just, my body changes. And I go, that's
As
why
it
kind of
should.
even the cut, I was like, I can prove I can still do this to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a weird day that I was like, y'all need to just take a chill pill.
Those days are tough. Oh, that's why I was like, I just have to pretend Google isn't an option with my name. I just have to like, probably told you this before, but I think Emma Ratajkowski said it once, and she's like, it's emotional cutting. And and that's how I
Yeah.
associate Googling myself as like, this is so morbid, but I'm like, you Google yourself, you cut your wrist. Like, obviously, I was like, I know that sounds very extreme and I'm not, but like, that's how much it emotionally impacts me as like someone who literally used to self-harm. Like, but it is like that. And it's the same feeling though. It's like this very like, you want this relief because you know, you see your name and you're like, there's something there. I need to know what it is. And like, you just kind of like, and you're like, and then it kind of festers and your mind starts wandering what it could be. And it's just almost like this release, you let go and you know, but every time I've done it, even if 100 things are nice, like I can distinctly remember the 5 comments that have sent me into a spiral. And like, I don't think people like realize I was like, it's names and you put yourself on them, but the forum specifically, it's such a weird thing. It's different when you post something and it's like, yeah, I'm posting it here. It's open. You can comment on the specific thing, but like, it's very like bullying once it goes behind these scenes. And like, it's just a weird feeling of knowing people are like just sitting there talking negatively when you're not out for drama and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, don't beat yourself up, because I don't think anyone handles that well, because like it's just like you said, that's the only way I can think of it. It's emotional cutting is the
that's
only
a great
way
way
to
to
talk
put it.
about it.
And I mean, I'm like, I've never really talked about it in general, so that's why I'm like, I guess the listeners get to hear it first.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm so over it. That's where I'm like, you know what? People should know that people see this. And I mean, even we've had plenty of friends that have come out about this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was a moment of weakness. I'm like, I used to do it once a year. And then I was like, why do I do that? It's so bad. Like, I don't need to know what people think of me, just like I don't need to know what people from my high school think of me. I'm not going to see that.
It's very true.
Yeah, and you're totally right. There are a million. I remember the one day I was really sad about it. And like, I just saw a tiny snippet. That was it. And I was like, don't look into it. And I didn't do anything further, but it just like, I could read enough that I was like, and it was like from a year ago. But I still was like, wait, so what? And yeah, I just like, where was I even going with that comment? I got all flustered. I don't know. I've lost it.
I think that's, but regardless,
it's just no, people have feelings, and that yeah, but at the same time, I put it out there. So it's like you said, you have to have the tough skin. You have to be okay with being judged. And that's why with the comments, I'm like, yeah, you can totally have your own thoughts. And you know, who knows where you came from if you share certain things and bully online. And it's like, why capitalize off of someone else's like pain? Or I just am a big believer in karma, and like karma is always revolving around what you do. Or like an evil eye situation. So it's kind of interesting.
It's interesting times. The internet is the wild, wild west. And I could talk about that topic forever. So I got theories upon theories. But I would love to hear your theories about today's topic.
Yeah, so today's topic, speaking of the internet, is we thought it'd be fun to kind of dive into an episode where, I mean, we've done it in the past, but about a year ago, but kind of revisit it and say our 2 cents and kind of just, I don't know, see what you think of your own perspective of it. There's like this awkward stigma around those who drink in the fitness industry, and that I think it's becoming less taboo. I think years ago when I started, it was like perfection. You need to have the abs, just like we said, you know, right on par with things. You need to have the perfect meal prep. And by all means, you do not share if you're like partying or drinking or whatever it may be, because you've got a brand uphold or a face uphold. And like, it was so, I don't know, people to only show their gym life. And there's still a lot of people that do. Totally fine. You totally can do it. But I think it's cool that people are a little more like, hey, this is my life. This is what I like to do. And kind of just breaking the stigma that it's not always, you know, one way.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. And I think it was like the times changing, because I just think of early 2012 when like Instagram first came out, is there was only like 5 niches. There's foodie, fitness, pop culture, like home decor. You know what I mean? It was so like narrow. So I think it was so competitive, like Instagram specifically is like how to be the fittest. And there was such like perfection. And Instagram was this whole curated. So like I had to be so into fitness and I had to grind. And it was just that like bodybuilding-esque thing was fitness. So I think that also showed you like, I don't drink because I care 100% about my fitness. Even though behind the scenes, a lot of us were drinking. I just think it was just like you said, it was taboo. But I think now with the internet being so just part of our life, like the good thing is like there's so many niches. So suddenly people realize like, I don't want to follow the girl who just works out. I want to follow the girl who works out and has a margarita every Saturday, because that's what I do. And like, I think that's kind of the nice thing about social media, and it just like the vastness of it and just like the little niches that have grown. So I think that's also one thing of like, and there's just the veil of the perfection. We don't want perfection. We like messy. We like a little messy.
Absolutely. I mean, even think of some people that are the most successful online. Like I think of, you know, the most recent girl, Alex Earl. That girl like shared everything to her really gross, dirty dorm or like her room in college to like her being drunk and being funny and or her hair on her hairbrush. It was just like, they didn't I mean, one, she's stunning and beautiful, but that's not why they liked her. No. It wasn't because she's the beautiful big boobs. No, they were like, we like you because you're relatable, you're funny, and like you just want to have a good time regardless of what you're doing.
Exactly. She's like someone you'd want to be friends with, which is kind of
Yes.
what it comes. It's like a little less like the person you want to be and a little bit more who you want to be friends with. I feel that's the difference between social media
Yeah.
now. Like they're a little aspirational, but it's like, I'd go hang out with you. Not like if someone else is like perfectionist models on the other side, I'd be so scared to stand next to you.
Uh-huh.
Kind of
Oh
vibe.
my gosh, yeah. I mean, that's even why with celebrities and social media, like we've talked about in the past, when it's
Mm-hmm.
like those perfect curated pictures. I'm like, I love the people. The cast in Outer Banks does a phenomenal job of this, where
Mm-hmm.
they always share like BTS and behind the
I
scenes
love that.
after they film Outer Banks. And you're like, it makes it fun because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
this is your life. This is your personality behind this fake character. And those are the people I follow. Like even
Yeah.
Kelsey Ballerini. Like she's
Oh,
so funny, cute, got the cute boyfriend, right? But she also shows like her having a weird hair day or something.
yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So I guess should we jump into I kind of wrote out we could talk about our own experiences or we could
Mm-hmm.
already just go full into why is the fitness industry so odd about it?
I kind of like a brief mention of like our experience of just like how we are and like how our own even feeling goes. Cause I think that's going to navigate into the fitness world with it. Like,
Okay.
especially if someone's here for the first time. So I want to hear yours.
Okay. Well, I mean, from the past, I went to I was a very goody two shoe girly. And then I went to a party school, and, that was back in my days of like, I mean, I'm not really one to do anything else other than drink. But it slowly changed my senior year. I actually got into CrossFit, and I've talked about
Mm-hmm.
that. And I stopped kind of going into that scene, and I would go to CrossFit class or I would just go to the gym. And like I loved Fridays. It was open till midnight. Nobody was there. I could do whatever I wanted. But I would still occasionally go out and have drinks with my friends. And then now as an adult, I'm like, okay, I still love the occasional, have too much wine with your friends, or Michael and I will get drunk and go to a fair like I've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not really one to do like clubs or anything like that anymore, but I still like every weekend I'll have a cocktail or I'll have wine or things like that. And I feel like as we get older, it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I see a lot of people kind of getting out of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed a lot of people, at least in general, do like, they'll smoke weed or they'll do shrooms now and like they
California
don't
sober.
drink. Is that what that's called? I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have heard that. And I was like, wait, what is that? And one of my friends that she was a big drinker, she was like, yeah, I don't do anymore. I just take shrooms. And I'm like, can we even say that on the podcast? I don't know. But I was like, what
It's
is
our
this
podcast.
thing? Yeah, that's true. But I just think it's fascinating that like
Mm-hmm.
I almost have noticed there's like this trend of that, like
Mm-hmm.
leaving to that and people aren't drinking as much anymore.
I think there's multiple reasons. One, I think, is like just the studies have come out that like we forget alcohol is literally a poison and we're
Literally
drinking it. It's a
poison.
fun poison. But I think even
Mm-hmm.
not to bring everything back to Andrew Huberman, but he had that whole podcast and it's like his number one listened to podcast. So obviously like millions of people listen. They tell their friends. And it was just kind of like eye opening of like, oh, we like to feel a little giggly and get out of our head and all this. But like alcohol is a poison. And we're not going to promote or take away drugs, but I think people's whose opinion that go California sober is like, it's not a poison, it's in nature. And that's people's thought with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of like, it works for them. Like I've always kind of said, like people get prescribed different drugs. So it makes sense that you would have to, not everyone would react the same to different party recreational things, whether it be drinking or like cannabis or anything like that. So like it makes sense. And also I think there's a difference. That's the general. And just even like you and me getting a bit older, like I'm going to mention FOMO culture. And I remember when you're like 18 to 21, when you start drinking in Canada, you have to go out and drink every Friday, Saturday, because you might miss the party. Do you know what I mean? There's such a like, oh, let's go drink. Like, we don't know who we're going to see tonight and we don't know who's going to come out. And it's so exciting. It's new and it's novel. So you're drinking every night. And then you wait. And then you suddenly, after a year, start to realize you're like, not every night. Like a lot of nights end up being duds. And you're like, I don't run into anyone. And it's kind of lame. And like, I'm just hungover for no reason. So you kind of start stepping back. And I think by the time you hit your late 20s and 30s, you like know what a good night is and you know what's
Mm-hmm.
worth it for you. So it's like, I know for myself, like, I know our balance is a bit different. Like I think your balance leans a bit more to like having one or two drink on weekends kind of thing versus my balance is like going sober for a month. And then I meet up with my friends and we go out drinking and dancing. And like, I'm like, yeah, I'll be hungover and crippled in the morning, but it's once a week and I'll wake up and it's worth it. And I want to stay out till 3 dancing and going. I try never to black out anymore, but I do go past drunk. I get a little crazy. And that's like, but it's worth it for me. And versus like, and so I think it's like you get rid of that FOMO culture of like, what's going on? Like a Friday night in, I'm like, I couldn't care less what's going on. I've been there. I've done it. And I think that's also a difference.
Have you ever looked at in a bar? Like this is even in college too. Sometimes I'd look around, whether I was, had a boyfriend or not. And like some nights it would be sad. Like you were almost like, I need to just go home and watch a Netflix movie because I'm going to be more happy and entertained by this. And then there's some nights that are like really, really fun. So you're totally right. Because you're like, how do you know? And in college, you do them all because you're like, I don't know what is fun. And then you slowly, as you get older, you're like, wait, that's not really a fun night for me. And then for me, I'm like, oh, I would have wine with my friend Jordan and we would like we'd like grab food, like French fries or whatever. And that was like the most fun I would have, you know? So it's, totally. It's strange how it changes like that.
Oh yeah. And as someone who was a bartender for many years, you realize like you get such a funny perspective of the bar because you're sober for night and you just stare out for a long night and you're just seeing it from like a sober eye view and seeing everyone and you're like, this doesn't look fun. Like it's a bunch of drunk people just be like, woo, and bumping into each other and like versus like I'm just a random night out with like 1 or 2 people. It's like, I'm not going to be. I want to go with my group of friends and we all go out. It doesn't matter where we are. It's going to be chaos and it's going to be hilarious. And I'm going to make fun of my friends for the next 6 years about something stupid they said at 1 a.m. But like, that's fun for me. And it's like you said, but you have that realization of like, oh, just to be at the bar ain't that great.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So that's our little backstory. Should we get into, I know you said you have some theories on why the fitness industry is so odd about it. Because I thought it's almost like talking to like your grandma with alcohol when you talk to a fitness influencer sometimes where you're like, I don't want to say anything weird. And like I've had that even experiences at like events or things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone's pretty chill about it in general. But it is like this awkward conversation that nobody really wants to talk about. And then once you meet someone that's a little more like-minded, like how you and I did, where I was like, hey, I'm going to grab a drink with my friend Maddie. Come with me. And you're like, perfect. Yeah. Okay. I'll grab a beer. Let's go.
I think it's such a funny thing because obviously, like we said, we're not going to sit here and pretend alcohol is healthy. No one's saying that. But I think because of that, like a lot of people in the health and wellness industry don't drink because of that reason. Like they're like, my body is a vessel and I only like, they don't even put in seed oils, let alone like alcohol. And like when you first meet someone, I think there's a lot of things in the fitness industry of people being like, you're treading toes of like, you don't want to offend people. Exactly. So you don't want to, it's not like normally with your groups of friends, like want to hit up for a martini and occasionally someone will be like, I'm actually sober. And you're like, oh, but like you almost go in assuming someone's sober and then find out they're not in the fitness industry versus the other way around, assuming someone drinks and find out they're sober. So I think it's like this weird, like taboo that there is just the extreme people too online are always the ones who are like F alcohol and all that versus it's back to even what we were saying at the beginning with you. It's just like the people that are extreme. There's always going to be those people online. Unfortunately, they get the most noise when in reality, like the average person wants to be able to just kind of do fitness and drink a little. They don't want to be this perfect, flawless wellness person.
Yeah, they don't want to hide it. I think that's at least my main point because, by all means, alcohol is not healthy. But if that is something you want to do, if that's a social thing you do, by all means, you can still like fitness and still be that quote unquote gym rat, but also like that too. Because I know even in the past, I've had, negative like comments on things like that. Or I'm sure you have too with your life on YouTube, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you're always like, oh, jokes aside with it. If that's how you want to live your life, you shouldn't feel like just because there's pressure on fitting in that bubble. And I think that's the big like portion of that is like there's a bubble for each category of type of influencer. Yeah. And like it's okay to not be in that bubble and like be a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And you're going to be a little bit too much for someone and not enough for someone else. So you're just like, I'm here for the girl. And also like, I'm sure my 18-year-old self thinks I'm kind of boring. It's like, you're not going out every night. I don't want to hear you. I'm going to go watch Alex Earl. And that's fine. And it's just like finding your little bubbles. On the flip side, there's going to be the people who never drink. And some people want to find that, but you're going to find like specifically what works for you. And that goes back to the extremists before. I think it was just like, you're in fitness, you don't drink. You're as healthy as can be. And because that's what you're promoting, fitness. And now like it is a more balanced lifestyle is what people at the end of the day want, as cheesy as it is.
Yeah, I agree. And I even think it's funny now, like nowadays, we have people like Taylor Swift, who, you know, not to make everything always about Taylor Swift, but everybody that saw at the VMAs, like that girl was pounding her vodka sodas. She was having shots. She was having good time. She was dancing. And I just think that even kind of breaks that third, what is it? Third wall, where you're like,
yep.
She's so perfect. And like, she's still, in my opinion, perfect. Yeah. But I'm like, so cool. But still, it's like, she's human. She probably also enjoys a nice glass of wine. And she also always talks about it in her songs. Yeah. Like she will refer to like being drunk, coming home from a bar and like upset at something or having wine. And like, it's not like she's promoting this horrible, you know, binge drinking, but it's kind of nice when you see people are just like us. But you also hear that like Hollywood does not drink, and that like these actors and these singers, like, because like you said, it's poison. They know to be on their best like A game with everything, which makes sense. Their body is their art and their work. They don't drink. So it's so fascinating. Somebody that's like the it girl right now does occasionally drink.
And I think it comes down, not to say everything's about social media, but I think there's like two reasons before. I feel 10 years ago, Hollywood was the only way to get your voice out. So everyone was even Taylor Swift, she was painted as this perfect Hollywood sweetheart, and she didn't have a single flaw. And that was because the media would present it. It was her managers who would put you in front of this interview show that was pre-scripted, and she was dressed, and there was no like way to just talk to your audience specifically. It was always in this curated. So Hollywood curated all these perfect model, and even like Paris Hilton, remember how taboo it was that she just went to the bar as a 21-year-old and she was like painted as these paparazzi, like she's so trashy, leaving the bar drunk. I'm like, I did that. Like everyone, it's just what you do at 21. And it's just like she just happened to get photo, but it was just this like everyone was just always like prying that it just meant it was this downward spiral, yada yada yada. But now people have the direct connection with their fans, and so they can simply show like, oh, it's Friday night, I'm having a wine. And it's like the audience likes it, versus I think media for the longest time was like, no, we have to make you look perfect and you don't have a flaw and you have to be airbrushed and everything. And now people are like sick of it. Like people know it's fake now. So they like, don't try and play us. Like people don't want to be spoofed. And also I will say one other little theory, the logistics. No one talks about, I think also that's why you never see it with Hollywood. I've done a couple brand deals with, alcohol companies, and it's so annoying. It's awful because there's so many laws and regulations of marketing alcohol, and like so that's why you can't just like openly see things. And so whenever I've done a brand deal, like an Instagram reel or something, I can only be seen holding the drink. I can never show me drinking it.
Oh, interesting.
Because I can never actually promote someone drinking alcohol because it promotes overconsumption. And so like there's all these weird rules. So I think that's also why Hollywood's like, I don't even want to bother the logistics of it unless like Budweiser's come and paying a ton of money. But yeah, I think that's also it. Like media, they're just like, it's not worth the hassle to deal with these alcohol laws because there's so many, which is good. But like, just realize like that's also why I think it's not shown. Just
what
legally.
about people that own their alcohol brands?
It has nothing to do with alcohol brands. It has to do with the like government. So in like Canada,
I know, but are you saying that like nobody, literally no, even if like say Kendall with 818, she can't be drinking it?
So that's actually interesting because I can show myself drinking, obviously you guys have seen it 100 times. But if I'm being paid by a brand to advertise it, then it becomes an advertisement, and I can't show me drinking it because I'm promoting consumption on an advertisement. Which like I know this is Canadian,
so she just can't be drinking it on an ad.
But here's the question for her, because she owns it. Is it always an ad? So can she never actually show herself drinking it? I don't know. In America and Canada's, like you guys can show like drug commercials. We can't even do that in Canada. So I was like, I don't know what America's rules are, but in Canada, that's how it is.
Fascinating.
So, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So there's that thought.
All right. Well, moving on, we thought it'd be fun to do a little quick fire of the impact of alcohol and working out / how to combat it with our own tips. And we've given a couple tips, but we thought, why not remind you guys? And, maybe you didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I think everybody knows this. Alcohol dehydrates you. It's not rocket science, but our advice would be take electrolytes before and after, even during if you want. I take greens as well. It's always just helped me. And drink water with each drink, unless it's too much liquid, because I get that too. I'm like, I am no saint sometimes because there's so much liquid and I don't want to pee all the time. But I know you love doing the water with the drink.
I will say I went to Miami, a lot of drinking. I went out a couple weekends ago, a lot of drinking. I haven't been hungover in a month. What I've been doing is before bed, I have an Element, which obviously that naturally also, and I tried those charcoal packets from Symbiotica. And I don't know if it's a placebo, but I'm waking up feeling great. After I chug a liter of water, I take that charcoal and then I add elements to a thing of water. And then I always just make sure to have like a little piece of bread or something at least. It's more than a piece of bread. But I was like, I'm not going to bed on empty stomach. No hangover. So there's a little hack for y'all because holiday season's coming.
Holiday season. And I guess our second one is the empty calories. Sometimes for me, I'm like, I don't think it's empty calories because you're enjoying an experience.
I like that.
But like if you are somebody that, is like watching your intake, trying to avoid the high calories, this is what I do. I'll have one fun drink that's like my favorite, like a lychee martini, a porn star martini, whatever it may be. And like the more sugar, typically the more hungover you are, sadly. So this also helps you. So choose your drink of choice. Mine is I do lime tequila, shaken over ice. And that's all I have the rest of the night, or soda water, tequila, vodka, whatever. I just switch after I have the one. And, if I'm feeling frisky, maybe I'll have two. But I, by all means, don't continue the whole night constantly getting fun drinks. As much as I'd love to, I've had some gnarly hangovers doing that.
They'll get you. And I think everyone's heard the empty calories, and just even a little context. It just pretty much means there's no vitamins, there's no protein, there's no fiber, and that's okay. I think as long as you're just aware, you're like, oh, it's a calorie and I'm not getting nutrients for it. So if I live off vodka, I'm going to have a nutrient deficiency.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But like, that doesn't mean every single calorie you consume needs to have nutrients, because you have nutrients from the rest of the day. So Absolutely. Like also that's why I was like, as long as like you said, but that's a different story if all you're doing is consuming vodka. So, but like for our girls, just be mindful, just be aware depending on your goals.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even call them empty, because it's like you said, it's you're doing something with it. It's like great. I just love it. Yeah. Right. So it's like, if that brings me joy to have a lychee martini with Millie, for sunset, that's what I'm going to do. And it's worth it.
It's the fourth macronutrient and it's the funnest macronutrient. So you know what? I'm okay with it. Bring me my empty calories. They're my favorite.
My favorite. Do you want to throw in your tip?
I think you like kind of nailed it. I guess you
said mention my new hangover hack. Is that your charcoal?
Oh, that was the charcoal. Yes.
Okay.
That's
cool.
The charcoal one.
Also, side note, obviously alcohol affects our sleep / even the sugar spike in the middle of the night. We've all had the sugar spike scaries. My big thing lately is I like day drinking, and then I'm done the rest of the day. So Michael and I, when we did our day trip, we had some cava. I think we had like a margarita on the beach. And then like when we went back to Barcelona, hung out, went to the fair, went to dinner, then we just got some sparkling water and called it good. But it really helped me, because then I was sober by the time we were home and I slept like a baby.
That's perfect. And I will say, as someone who wears an Oura ring, sleeps on an 8-sleep mattress, it does. Like those things pick up when you have a drink. So I think it's just like, that's why I was like, I got to make it count. That's why I'm not a big like one drink here or there kind of person. Because I'm like, okay, I get a little buzz and then I go home and it's going to affect my sleep. Versus I'm like, I'm going out and I'm going crazy. It's going to be a bad sleep. I'm accepting it. It's one night out of the month. I will survive. Yeah. I'm a survivor. And so that's kind of my rationale with it. And everyone's, like I said, everyone's balance is different. But for me, I just make sure the night before, like if I'm going drinking that night, my sleeping is on point. I'm getting like everything's dialed in. So then I'm like, it's one night's a little not too bad. And then I just jump right back onto it the next day.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect, but that's how I do it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, overall opinion on it. What do you think?
Of alcohol?
Alcohol, the fitness industry, everything above. How are you going to go forward with this knowledge you now have?
So right now I'm actually doing something. Normally for me, like I've said it, that's my balance. I think balance is different for every people. Some people it's like a couple drinks every weekend. Some people it's just vacation. Some people, I've had friends who they don't have a drinking problem, but they've enjoyed going sober. And I think it just works out to what works best for you and just that balance. And it just, that's all life is. Life is that like seesaw of like, what is so much fun I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of health for. And there gets to be a point you sacrifice so much of your health that life is no longer fun because it's miserable. So you know what I mean? And I think alcohol is one of those. You're like the nights, the funnest nights I've had are drinking. Do I have to drink to go out? No, but there's been a couple nights and those will be worth, if I lose a couple of years off my life. I was like, there's more life in the years I had. And I think it's just finding that scale of what works for you and like allows you to still, because I don't want to be drinking so much I can't do my actual goals and whatnot. So I think what it comes down to, I'm actually a little sneak peek for the podcast listeners. I won't be telling YouTube till January. I'm doing 75 hard.
Nice.
But I changed the rules because I'm doing 75 hard in a realistic way. So you have to see the video to see I changed all 6. But for alcohol, like the one thing is you can't, no junk food, no alcohol. I'm like, I have a really good relationship with alcohol. Like I don't need to drink every week, but there's a couple of things I really am looking forward to. And yeah, I could not, but I'd be kind of sad. So I can't have any unplanned alcohol. So I get like one night a week. So I'm doing, or a month. So I'm doing Thanksgiving, I'm doing Halloween, a night with Megs, and then boom, 75 hard days. But it's like, it's planned. It's like, I'm well aware in the fact I will do a lot of sleep, making up for it. I will do all the things, but like, I'm not going to sacrifice that just to do 75 days. But if someone's just like, oh, we'll just get a round of beer at dinner. And I know me, I'll drink it and I'll kind of regret it. I'm like, oh, I just had a crappy sleep because of that. So I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not falling into the peer pressure of the alcohol that I don't actually enjoy. But Thanksgiving with my family, oh yeah, I enjoy that. So I'm not giving that up. So how about for you?
I love that because people can be the all or nothing mentality sometimes with it, where it's okay if you do want to, if, like you said, if it serves you with you having, a fun night with your family, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I think my game plan, actually, I'm somebody that really struggles with anxiety. And just like it really affects my mood. So during my cut, I didn't really drink. I had it maybe once a week. But I am where I'll have one drink. And so then a lot of the weekends in general, I just didn't drink, and because I was like, well, like I have this whole European trip coming up. I don't really mind it. And I really felt mentally happy because I mean, even like I said, with how I struggled with researching, and that's something that's very vulnerable for me to share. But like that was after like a week of like drinking in Rome, then drinking with Michael. And I knew it. I was like, I would not be feeling like this about myself if I didn't, if I hadn't had that. And I know it's correlated. I've always known that about myself. So I'm going to challenge myself with when I get back, and probably, I mean, in general, when we're on the island, not a lot of my friends drink in general. So it makes it really easy. It's more like Michael and I love having wine and watching a movie. But he kind of is on board where he's like, let's try and not really drink for like, basically do like a quarter where we're not really drinking. And then we go on a trip and then we have fun, we drink and like kind of go all out there. And so I was like, yeah, let's try it. We've never done it. We're always somebody that's like pretty impartial, and we'll have drinks every now and then. But I mean, it's so easy when our friends don't drink really. And like, it's on the island where we live, we don't really go out. We'll go to dinner. So I'm excited to do it because I think it'll really help with like my fitness goals as well. Just even me working, my work ethic, and just mentally being like not having the anxiety sometimes. So yeah, that's kind of, but I don't really get it if I have like a couple glasses of wine. That's why I just don't drink a lot in general, is it's if I go on a bender like my bachelorette, I was a fucking mess. You knew that. You saw firsthand. I
witnessed.
Yeah. And I'd gone from my dad's in Arizona, they're big drinkers, to Cabo, to Nashville. And I was like wrecked mentally. And I remember my friend Maddie's like trying to calm me down. She's like, it's your anxiety. It's okay. And I was like, I can't live my life this way. So that's my goal is I'm just we're going to try it and see how it is. And I bet you it'll go great. And honestly, when you give yourself a goal, like you're doing 75 hard, and honestly, I had so much fun with my cut. I totally plan on doing it again because it's just a fun thing to give myself structure. I'm like, I think it'll be really easy. If you know there's a reason, a rhyme or a reason, why not? But like holidays, like you said, I'm like, holidays, of course. I'm going to Dad's Giving. Of course, I'm going to do that kind of stuff. And I'm in Europe right now. So
love it. Love it.
All right. Should we end? I guess this one, let's end with some advice questions that we had.
I love it. I love it. So I will read off this advice segment of the day. How much do you think someone should spend on engagement ring? I would love to hear your thoughts, like the classic, or just, I have what I've heard and I would love yours. Let me know.
Okay. I personally think it's not my business in that sense.
Oh, true.
Like, I don't know. I don't have like a strong feeling towards this at all. I always joked that I wanted a big ring from Michael because we had been like together for so long, through so much together. Yeah. I've heard some weird ones with engagements where it's like a year's worth of salary. And you're like, dear God. I have heard that one. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think it's whatever they can afford and they feel comfortable and it does not put you in a hole in an uncomfortable spot.
Yeah.
I just think like at the end of the day, also, if you're growing old and say maybe you guys, want to buy a house, got to plan a wedding. Those things are expensive. Buying a car. Why don't you just like get whatever ring you love and you're comfortable with, and then back when we're older, then ball out and get your ring if you guys
like that.
save for it, right?
That's a smart way to think of it. I like that. I guess I always heard the 3-month thing.
What is a 3 month?
So it was supposed to be 3 months salary was what, like the old taboo thing used to be. I know. That's why I was like, year. I was like, oh, that was supposed to be 3 months.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think I'm wrong.
Because I think the old wives' tale was like, it was a way to prove that you could like financially support your wife if you could put up 3 months just to go like on a ring. So that was kind of like the idea behind it.
That
like,
makes way more sense than a year.
So I was like, but it's still, that's absurd. So just say like for easy math, $100K a year or something that Canadian, that's like $70K USD. $30K on a ring? I'd be so scared to wear that walking around. Do you know what I mean?
You insure it.
Well, yeah, but still, just the thought of like, I know it's insured, but still, just the thought, like, I feel like I'm going to be at Target. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I was like, that's like, even like super expensive watches. I'm like,
totally.
That's why I was like, but I get rich people have like security in that, so they don't have a problem. But that's why I was like,
rich people have security for their watches. No, they just get stolen from.
True. So I'm like, yeah, that's like, I feel like you would want something, assuming I like your idea, but let's say that's not your idea of like the saving up. I was like, I like the idea that it's a piece that you like, that's not going to tarnish, it's going to last, it's beautiful. I don't know if that's like $1,000, if that's like $10,000. The thought of wearing more than $10,000 of jewelry scares me. Like when I see guys with Rolexes and all that, I'm like, you might get mugged. But that's just me. But I won't lie. I want something flashy. I want something a little fun. But I don't need 50K on my wrist. Oh,
I do think it depends on the girl or the guy, whoever you're proposing to. I think it depends on what they want, in the sense of like, some people are like, I don't really mind jewelry, and then there's some that are like, I love the flashy, I love this, I know exactly what I want this designer. So I think I think it's so dumb that like it's this contest being like who's got the biggest ring or whatever.
There's no rules.
Yeah.
There's no rules anymore.
You discuss that maybe prior, and if you don't want to give a hint away that you're going to propose, ask their friends and then see like, oh, this is the kind they like, or maybe they don't, or maybe they don't even want a diamond ring. Maybe they want, I have some friends that do birthstones.
Yeah. Cute.
I have a friend that just did a plain ring. Yeah. So it's like a gold band. So I think it's dependent. But I definitely think we're past the like there's
no rules anymore.
Salary.
There's not like a set rule. I think it's like a free game now. I none of my friends have done something like consistent, like, oh, we did this and this. Like there's no, she wore the white dress kind of thing. And even that's not needed anymore. But I think like engagement rings. It's something you like that hopefully doesn't financially cripple you.
Totally.
I think that's all it comes down to these days.
Because I remember,
as someone who's not married.
As I remember, I'm like from a girlie that is married, when he proposed, and like I knew he had asked like what kind of ring I wanted.
Yeah.
And I knew like, oh, I like this certain cut. I love I'm not girly at all, but I love like a statement jewelry. That's something like I constantly wear this one necklace I have, earrings I keep in, and I wanted like a statement ring. And so that's kind of how he had planned that out. But I would have also been happy with literally anything. Speak of the devil, he just came home from his co-working space.
Oh, nice. And on that note.
Yeah, on that note, we should probably wrap it up.
Perfect.
He's looking at me like, dear God, I'm so sorry. But you have any finishing thoughts?
No, drop my.
You want to take us
completed
home?
As much. All I got to say is, if you guys like this, leave a 5-star review. We'd love to hear it. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. And if you want a piece of advice or to submit to our confession session, hit us up on Instagram, slide into our DMs, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.